Vlad here. Welcome to CatPick Fridays episode number 33. And once again, I'm joined by Mr. Richard Morgan. Hello.
Hello, podcast. Hello, Vlad. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, considering the circumstances, I guess. Some of the listeners and viewers might know that me and my wife had a baby. When this episode airs, it will be 2 weeks already, a time that just absolutely flew by. And I kind of need to check the photos and everything, like what actually happened during these weeks. But yeah, we had a baby, and I'm going to talk about it a bit more in the recent happenings section. But first, thank you so much for watching and listening. And as always, this episode is available both on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and on Podbean app as well. I'm pretty sure of that. And if you want to be part of the questions and comments section of the show, you can leave a comment down below on the YouTube app. And then you can also email us at podcasts@catpickstudios.com. And there's a bunch of links and timestamps and things like that for the show as well in the description, both on podcast platforms and on YouTube. And yeah, if you want to support what we do, there's ways to do that as well. And yeah, we have a fun show today, a very packed show actually. There's a bunch of Harley Benton stuff, Boss, loopers, noise gates, guitars, tiny pedals or shrunken pedals, I should say. In the albums of our lives, we are going to dive into an album that's probably like top 3 most influential albums for me of all time. So there's that. Not going to reveal yet what it is. And we are also going to comment on your comments / answer your questions, and also in the weekend watch the Beatles. There's a new, really, really cool looking trailer of what's it called? Get Back. Basically, well, we'll talk about it more, but much of footage was kind of not found, but it was kept away for 50 years, and now Peter Jackson is directing like a mini series / movie out of all of that. So yeah, we're going to dive into that as well. But first, let's talk about some baby news and everything that has happened over the past couple of weeks in everyone's favorite segment, Recent Happenings. Yes, babies, recent happenings. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago on Friday, me and my wife went to hospital, and was it 8-9 hours later, our second daughter was born. Everyone is doing well, and for the past couple of weeks, we've been kind of getting used to the new normal here. Life is certainly a bit busier, but also really awesome, and we're super grateful that we got out of the hospital like in less than 48 hours, I think. So we went there on Friday morning, and we were out by like Sunday afternoon. So that was really nice, because last time it was like 7 or 8 days. Like a few days before our first daughter was born, and then 3 or 4 days after, and it was scorching hot in 2018 that time, and the hospital had like old space at that point. Like it was really, really hot. Now proper air conditioning and it's like that, and just sitting there waiting to get home is very frustrating. So this was great. In 48 hours, all of a sudden there was 4 of us, and we were home. And yeah, for the past 2 weeks, it's been getting used to the new family member, and also just having lots of relatives and friends visit us, because everybody wants to see the baby. And yeah, I've been doing some light work here and there, but mostly taking time off as well, which has actually been great. And before anyone asks, yes, we've been sleeping pretty well, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess you've been holding a lot more babies in your hands than guitars these past 2 weeks. Am I right?
I'd like to say, yeah, pretty much. I don't consider my older daughter a baby anymore because she's 3. She talks more than most of the 5-year-olds I know. Like, it's more like, I'm just going to say, like, though it's been only like roughly 3 years when we had her, like, I had forgotten how like uninteractive the small babies are. They sleep, they make sounds, they poop, they eat, and that's it. Like, they barely react to your presence in a way. It's going to change fairly fast, but like they don't do that much yet, which is great because like it gives you time to get used to everything. Like if they would move or like walk right away, that would be pretty chaotic.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if you had to keep, making sure that they didn't want to go upstairs or downstairs or out into the garden and chase the local wild animals and stuff like that. So you're lucky. You have a bit of time for them to get used to you and you to get used to them. And by the time they can walk, you kind of know their personality a bit and you know where they're going to go. I guess. Exactly. I say this as someone who doesn't yet have his own first child. So maybe it's different. But yeah. Congratulations again from me and all of the listenership on the addition to the Vlad family. And
thank you.
I think I speak for all of us when I say I'm looking forward to seeing the Hallinan family band performing on CatPick Fridays episode, maybe 500 or something. I'm not sure how long it would take for them to be competent enough to perform, but a couple of years at least.
Yeah. Yeah, my older daughter already kind of almost sings in pitch, which is crazy. And she's really, really into music. And like, it's cool to see, like, she reacts very emotionally to music. Like, she decides whether she likes a song based on like what kind of emotions it kind of conveys in her. If it's a happy song, she might start like jumping and almost screaming out of happiness. And like with some songs, she's like immediately, I don't like this. It could be like a sad song or something, even though she doesn't even know what the song might be about. But she just reacts to it emotionally. And it's really interesting to follow because I need to ask my dad whether me and my siblings were the same when we were small because we come from a fairly musical family. Like my father is very kind of artistic. He at some point used to paint. He was part of like big choirs and all kinds of stuff. And I think like I'm interested to hear whether we were like this as well because I remember like me and my sister especially like we played classical instruments as well and stuff like that. So I gotta ask him at some point. And a little bit of sad news as well. We are in the process of giving up both of our cats. Not only because like cats that actually kind of the reason why this channel is called CatPick Studios is because of those 2 cats. And unfortunately we'll be giving them away at some point with 2 kids and a fairly small apartment. It's a bit too much to worry, and one of the cats has been sick lately as well. Though it might look like, and it's again, the saying cats are assholes. Like a lot of people like to say that. What has probably made one of our cats sick is the other cat, even though they've lived together for like 7 or 8 years. The older cat, like we read somewhere, like when there's 2 like female cats, at some point they just might start like really disliking each other. And we separated them now for a few days, and all of a sudden the sick cat that was like super sick and we were almost ready to put her down seems to be doing fine all of a sudden. So we'll probably be finding 2 new homes for them at some point. It's a bit sad, but then again, yeah, all of the hassle we have had to go through over the past few months with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is literal proof of a toxic relationship right there. Humans can have it too, but also animals.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, like, it started as a great relationship. The second cat, the younger one, we were promised that, like, I think you can give out cats when they're 3 months old. Like, that's when they could move out of home. And we were promised, like, yeah, this cat will be, it's 3 months old. Like, some guy said, yeah, he'll bring it to us. And when we got the cat, it was like probably barely like a month old, barely could walk, barely could do anything. So our older cat kind of adopted her. So there's almost like a mother-daughter type of relationship, which went toxic all of a sudden. And here we are now. They're both doing better separately, so maybe it's time to move on then. So yeah, there's that as well. But weird times. Sorry about all the cats and family talk, but there's been so freaking much going on over the past 2 weeks that kind of feels good to get some of this out of the system as well. Just recapping it kind of helps me to process everything that has happened. And I think we might start diving into the actual show as soon as I find my notes somewhere, which are over here. Yeah, let's talk about something else than babies, cats, and stuff. No, actually, I also have to mention that because of all of this, the launch of my album that came out 2 weeks ago completely failed. Like, obviously, I'm not going to like have some sort of like album release premiere from a hospital. But I had like scheduled premiere on YouTube. I would like invite all the people to hang with me and chat about the album while it was playing and stuff like that. And what I ended up doing was like basically just putting it out there, and it's there now. But I had zero time to do any kind of promotion for it or anything like that. And same kind of happened with the previous CatPick Fridays episode as well. I just threw it out and like a day later created like texts and thumbnails for it and stuff like that. I mean, that's way less important than what was going on, but it's kind of funny that happened. I actually did go from on Saturday. I actually did go from the hospital to release the church EP. We had like a live stream thing going on, and because I was one of the producers and I engineered all the real instruments and vocals and produced all the vocals and a bunch of other stuff as well. My wife was like, "Hey, we're doing okay here in the hospital. You want to go to the live stream?" And I went there, and I nearly fell asleep while driving there already. Then I got bunch of coffee. Somehow managed to go through the live stream looking fairly normal and not start saying anything too stupid. And yeah, I kind of like once I wasn't allowed to stay at the hospital overnight. So once I got home with my older daughter, we just crashed and just slept for a very long time. But yeah, 2 weeks in, everything's good. Let's talk about guitars now. I think I'm starting to have brain capacity to talk about something else as well now, so that's cool.
It's time. Let's do it.
Yes, thank you. We're going to start with a banger because Harley Benton just released Fusion THSHH roasted. Let's click a button so we can see them as well. Kaboom! Yeah, basically dual humbucker floating bridge, kind of Telecaster style shred machines. I gotta say, these look cool. As anyone who has ever watched anything I do, I have a soft spot for tellies, and I kind of want one.
Yeah, I kind of also do. I think they were teasing these guitars just when we recorded our previous live episode, so almost 2 weeks ago. And now they're here, and yeah, it's no massive surprise what they are, but they look very, very cool. And they're doing that Harley Benton thing of, if you look down and see the prices, we'll see that they cost around 400 euros. So we're up at kind of premium Harley Benton prices in terms of that brand. But look at the specifications, what you get for that money, and it's just, they're really knocking it out of the park right now with what they're offering.
Yeah, and once again, shell pink. Okay, this looks a little bit pinkish at least, but like, it's still not. There's a hint of pink in this one.
There's a hint of pink. Look at the flame on that neck, on the back of the neck there. It's beautiful. It
looks great. We talked about the ALS. Like, the only thing I don't like about these is the fact that I think the Tesla pickups that come with the ALS were like a tier above the Roswell pickups that are on these. That's how I feel, at least. Like,
you think? Okay.
Yeah, that's my experience. I've had couple guitars with Roswell pickups. I've had the one that looks like Pete Thorne's signature, so that's like whatever the model name was. It's part of the
that
Fusion.
That's a Fusion as well, isn't it? But yeah, Fusion S,
like,
I'm going to guess.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Not as big as a fan of the pickups as on the ALS, but you can always swap them.
Yeah. Let's go through the specifications of these guitars quickly for anyone who can't see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're part of the Pro Series, again, which is the more expensive. I'm not going to say the boutique Harley Benton range because there aren't any real boutique Harley Benton ranges either, but the less cheap of the Harley Benton range. So roasted hard Canadian flame maple necks, twin Roswell Alnico 5 humbuckers, a Wilkinson 2-point trem system. So you've got a whammy on this Tele model, which is quite an unusual thing. And WSC staggered locking tuners. WSC is not Wilkinson. I get a fair bit of confusion on my videos, and I always make the distinction that WSC is a separate brand. I would say a level below Wilkinson stuff. And they also have a 42mm Graphtec Tusk XL nut. So we're looking at fairly similar specs to the ALS apart from those pickups, as you mentioned. And if you scroll down just a little bit more, I'm going to guess we have stainless steel frets. Yes, we do. 22 of those, medium jumbo. The bodies are that unpronounceable word, sapele. Sapella?
Something like that.
Sapele.
Yeah.
I'm going to pronounce it after the footballer, sapele. And I don't really know how heavy that wood is generally, but I'm guessing these are going to be quite weighty beasts.
Yeah.
And the colors: ice blue, shell pink, flame Bengal burst, Daphne blue, dark pink, and silver sparkle. So pretty much something for everybody who doesn't want, a two-tone sunburst. Although with the flame Bengal burst, you're not that far away anyway. But these are definitely modern double humbucker equipped Telecaster vibes.
Yeah. I should also mention that the colors have been designed or chosen by our friend Hunter from Agufish channel. He actually posted a video.
Oh, really?
Where the title was,
I didn't know that.
I chose the colors for these. So, yeah, I like this a lot. The neck joint looks great. We are watching the Thomann website right now, and it's still like a bolt-on neck, but there's a nice carve. Should give you a very nice higher bed access. Yeah, I am very interested in one of these. Look at that.
Yeah,
that looks great.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's very sewer vibey, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you should get in touch with your friends at Harley Benton and get one sent to you immediately. Now you've got time to maybe pick up the guitar again. It's probably not my ballpark as much because for me personally, I love Teles as well, but I have never loved a Tele with a whammy bar on it. So, it could be something for me to try, but I suspect that I would just prefer to have it without. So it's not for me, sadly. But that's okay.
That's okay. You don't have to like every
Yeah, there's a guitar for everybody.
Yeah, I kind of feel I would have trouble choosing which one.
Can we have a closer look at the... Yeah, I like that. Can we have a closer look at the dark pink?
Yeah, I think that might be the one. In Finnish, I would call... I think I've mentioned before, it looks like there's a Finnish saying it looks like berry porridge. So exactly
like berry porridge. Okay.
Yes.
That guitar looks very Charvel-esque to me. Yeah. And I know that you have a thing for pink Charvels too. So that would be your choice. For me personally, I would like a more neon pink if I was going to get a pink guitar, because if you're going to go pink, you go all in for me. But that's still pretty cool.
Yeah. True.
Again, roasted maple for the neck is great and for the fingerboard, but with that color, I would like to see an ebony board instead. I would love that.
Yeah.
But look at the flame on the back of that neck. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing somewhere that there's more and more factories who are able the technology of roasting maple has evolved quite a bit. Like even 10 years ago, it was a rarity. Like, and very few places actually like produced that, and now it's kind of everywhere. And why not?
Yeah,
maple
and
is more like less rare and stuff like that. It's kind of more environmental friendly as well. I want to take a look
exactly.
at the
And you know, maple has been a traditional fingerboard and neckwood for ages, and now for people who wanted rosewood but can't have it anymore on cheap guitars because of the CITES regulations, we have roasted maple, and it looks great. But the one thing for me about roasted maple is that because of the guitars that it first started appearing on, it has a more kind of metal vibe for me, and less of a classic sort of an aesthetic. So I always feel like a guitar with a roasted maple neck and fingerboard is going to be kind of a modern one as opposed to a more classic leaning one.
Yep. I mean, this looks great. Yeah, I'm actually starting to lean towards the shell pink one. I'm so going to email Harley Benton after this show.
Do it. I would love it if they'd made like a gold one of these, I think. Or, can we see the silver sparkle? Like I've been kind of looking around for sort of a satin gold finish guitar for quite a while, just on the off chance that something shows up at a decent price, but there's not many gold guitars to be had.
Yeah, like some of these have like, that's actually really cool.
That's a nice finish, but the silver sparkle is only on the top, isn't it? Not on the back or the sides.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's
we can see how many pieces of wood are in that body. That's interesting.
Oh, that's true.
This
one is made out of
three piece.
I think I'm seeing 3, no, maybe 4. On this left side, there might be a 4th piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you
Which is absolutely not a problem, by the way. It's just something you can see on this guitar and not on the others. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see actually as well that the back of that neck is way less flamed. By the way, your Aeolus, how flamed is that neck? Because in the specifications, the Aeolus necks are mentioned as flamed, but mine is not flamed at all, at least not to the naked eye. I mean, obviously it's been, produced in that way, but there is no flame that you can see and enjoy.
Allow me to switch the camera. Bigger. Sorry, listeners, but yeah, it's not that flamey.
No.
I mean, it's very difficult to show. There's a bit more going on maybe here, closer to the neck joint. But it's not super apparent.
Yeah, just when you twisted it then, there's a little bit down towards the dusty end of the fretboard, closer to you.
Yes.
Where you can kind of see it a little bit, but not that much. So nothing like what we've got on these new Fusion Ts. But it's interesting to see the Aeolus there in your hand. I feel like the Fusion Ts are basically exactly the same guitar as the Aeolus, apart from the body shape. And they cost the same amount of money, roughly €400. The one big difference being that the Aeolus is semi-hollow and has the Tesla pickups, and the Fusion Ts have the Wilkinson whammy bar and bridge on them, and that probably accounts for the budget, I would say.
Yeah. The silver sparkle one looks great as well, except I need to click the button so everyone else can see it as well. There you go. Yeah. I kind of like that one as well. The thing is, like, when you order one of these, you need to remember that there will probably be quite a lot of variation in the colors and flaminess and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah. And
it's a budget.
Harley Benton also picks the most beautiful guitar that they can find to take official pictures of course. Absolutely. As any brand would.
Yeah.
But the sparkle on that is lovely. Very nicely done.
It looks great. I didn't know I would like a sparkle guitar, but that looks great. Yeah, then some more.
Do they do S-type guitars in this new range as well?
I think they put out a range of those as well. So let's see, Fusion S. Let's go with that one. We're searching the Thomann website. Yep.
Seems like they do.
There's the Daphne Blue, the Shell Pink one.
Same
think
price,
they kind of
same
released
colors.
these at the same time. This is also kind of cool. Is it gold hardware? No. I don't like gold hardware.
It doesn't work with the shell pink on that instrument, does it?
Yeah, gotta be more specific. But this looks silver. What? I hope they didn't put a gold bridge and a silver colored tuners. That would be a bit. This does look a bit shell
it looks
pink.
different in every image.
Yeah. Oh, well. That looks like it's chrome.
That's definitely chrome, that one. But the other one looks gold, 100%. So again, get Harley Benton to send you one and then you'll find out in person.
More. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Harley Benton, they have something else out as well. There's Harley Benton MiniStomp range. And you actually familiar with these? Did you say that you have some of these pedals?
Yeah, I bought a couple because I'm such a fanboy of certain pedal types, and these cost about 20 euros a piece, a little bit less than that, most of them. So they're very, very cheap. Yeah, the Harley Benton compact effects pedal range is called MiniStomp, and I think there's 23 pedals in the range so far. And what they basically are is kind of, cheap mini-sized clones or homages, if you will, to more popular pedal types. I'm just guessing here because I don't have any, official linkage or quotes from the guys at Harley Benton, but I suspect that these are just, pretty much bang on identical to the other mini pedals that you can find from other manufacturers. And Harley Benton have taken their favorites, the ones that they wanted, rebranded them, maybe done the odd new feature here and there, and brought them out. And if you can see what we're looking at now, that's the list of the different pedals they have there, Vlad. So yeah, there's definitely over 20. There's at least, I think, 7 or 8 different drives, from boosts to overdrives, distortions and fuzzes. There's delays and reverbs. There's a 5-band EQ, which is one of the ones which I actually decided to go for because I've been looking for an EQ pedal for quite a while. $20. This is kind of how I see these pedals is if you're interested in a certain kind of effect. If you're interested in getting to grips with an EQ pedal, this is the cheapest, the most affordable way to get into doing that and finding out if you like that kind of effect. And if you feel it would be useful for you, and if you want, then later you can go on and buy the real deal. So for me, the pedal that really stood out from this lot was the Rodent, which I'm sure most of you can guess from the name is, of course, Harley Benton's take on the Proco Rat pedal. And when I said earlier that I feel like these are identical to all the other mini pedals out there, I also have the Moore Black Secret. I'll hold them up together. And yeah, we can see that these are two very, very similar looking pedals from the off. The gain control is a slightly different color. There's actually, on the Harley Benton, there's 3 selectors on the mini switch there to toggle between 3 different Rat models. There's only 2 on the Moore. But apart from that, pretty much identical. But for 20 euros, as this one was, and if you're watching this now, my video is already out of this pedal. It performs very, very well indeed. It just does that Rat thing. And I think that's what all of these pedals can do. The third one, which I got, was the Dr. D, which I find to be a rather unfortunate name. Made me laugh anyway. It's gold. And Dr. D is actually a Dumble drive pedal. So I don't know what this is particularly a rip-off of or a clone of or an homage to. But Moore, for example, also have one called the Rumble Drive, which is also a Dumble pedal. And that has exactly the same control layout. It's just green. So there you go. So that's probably what these pedals are. But, when it comes to mini pedals like this, there are a lot of them around. You see a lot of different companies who make them. Most of them, at least for me, living in Germany, are available on stores like Amazon, and they're from companies that you don't even know. And so if Harley Benton is putting out a range of them, ordering from Thomann is something that I've done a lot. I feel more kind of security in doing that. And if I have a bad experience, no problem to send them back or anything like that. So there we go. I don't think this is the right place for us to get into a discussion about clones, or copied pedals, or who owns circuits and stuff like this. But I feel like this is Harley Benton taking another step to corner every angle of the guitar market at the cheapest point of it.
Yeah.
What do you think about these, by the way? Because I've been talking for quite a while now. What are your thoughts?
I'm kind of interested. I've actually been thinking about getting like an EQ as well. And if you can get like a 5-band EQ that's small and it's like fairly noise free, for example, that's killer. Just a second. There you go. Yeah, that looks really good. I can't
make it focus on that. Yeah, it's decent. And I should also say, by the way, that Mua has a 5-band EQ pedal called the Graphic G, I think. And it looks just like this. And there are other companies like Tom's Line and other mini pedal companies, again, on places like Amazon. Search them out, you'll find them. They're probably all built in the same place. Maybe.
Yeah, it looks
allegedly.
Like that, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some interesting ones that, like, you mean like when we're talking about like a mini pedal range and a budget-friendly one as well. There's few that are a bit like more, well, they stand out. There's like a DI box plus cap sim. Actually, I think like having a 5-band guitar and bass EQs is pretty cool. I actually could probably order both. Then there's a headphone amplifier, which is interesting. There's an ABY box. There's an acoustic simulator. That's really cool. I mean, yeah, I have to agree on the fact that ordering from Thomann instead of like Amazon or anything like that, especially since we live in the EU, there's always the 30-day return policy, at least for me when I order from them. So I can get this, try them out, and if there's like any fault with any of those, or if I just don't like them, I can send them back, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. No questions asked. And even if you don't like them that much, Christmas is coming up. They cost $20. Give them to another guitar player in your life, and they will love you forever. I mean, 20 euros is incredibly cheap. I mean, obviously these pedals cost, €1, €2 for them to make, possibly more, possibly less, depending on current prices, but it's an almost unheard of price. I feel like we shouldn't take away from the fact that there are the original brands out there, and I say in my Rodent video that I will always recommend the Proco Rat over this, because it's the original that this and so many other pedals come from. But again, if you're someone who, for example, has never had a Rat type pedal and you want to try out that kind of overdrive and you don't want to spring for something more expensive, you just give out your $20 for this and then you've got that Rat sound, and it's 99% there. It sounds really good. So there you go.
Nice. Yep.
I don't think these pedals will be as successful as Harley Benton guitars, by the way. I mean, they've done pedals before, and they don't seem to have the same respect among guitar players that the guitars now have. At least that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's a reason for that as well, because some of the Harley Benton pedals I've tried, sounds have always been decent at least, but the quality, build quality and stuff like that, not so much. So maybe this range might be different, but it's also like for people in like America, for example, there's other kind of pedal lines that cost roughly the same, but then you can order them through like Sweetwater or something, so you have the return policy stuff there as well. So, and again, they might all come from the same factory actually, but I don't think if you live in the US, for example, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to order one or like order some of these pedals there, but because you have kind of similar ones available there. Because I think you mentioned like the Ronin, then I don't remember what else Ryan has been demoing on their channel. So, yep. But I kind of have a feeling I might get a few just to try them out at some point. But let's move on to the next one. Boss has released the new Boss RC600. And the Gear Gods article says, repeat forever with the new Boss RC600. It looks very, very, very impressive. And I love watching people who know how to use loop pedals. And I'm not one of them. I get very easily confused.
But I think with a pedal like this, you also can get very confused. With something like a TC Ditto, you have one foot switch, and that does 3 or 4 different things, and you're good. But with the RC600, this is a fully fledged, performance pedal for someone who is going to be doing multiple loops, playing things at different times, having different song segments, bringing them in and out, that kind of stuff. And it also looks like it doesn't have a touch screen, does it? But it has a big screen and lots of saving capabilities. Yeah. It almost looks like you can do tonal tweaking with it or something up there on the top left. What are those little 4 knobs for?
There's a bunch of input effects and 53 track effects types. I'm not 100% sure what is track effects, but yep. There's DJ style effects like beat scat and vinyl flick. So you can do vinyl flicks with one of the foot switches in your song. I just want to see someone really use these. I remember our friend Jay used to be I think he was part of one of the releases of such pedal, the smaller one, which is like a 200 series looper. Mm-hmm. We are checking whether Jay is in this video as well. Is it someone else? No, but there's a saxophone player. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Look at the cable runs from the pedal. We're watching a promo video by Boss. Somebody just recorded a saxophone jam. Now he's doing some percussion. What? Now he's going for the bass guitar, and he has a MIDI keyboard as well. And yep, some people will get absolutely crazily creative with this one. And this video kind of sucks without sound. I'm gonna say.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think he's actually doing that live? Because the percussion loops that he did seem to be literally a bar long. And I'm guessing that what you can do with this pedal is have loops of different lengths running simultaneously over each other as well. Otherwise, it would make no sense. We're going to have to watch this with sound at some point to fully understand it.
Definitely. I don't know. Looks great. Not a thing for me. I barely can do a basic looper thing, but I know some people will take one of these units and create something absolutely amazing with. So, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have their own unique uses for looper pedals, and what this one is clearly aimed towards is the kind of live performance that we just saw in the video there.
Yep.
And it looks like it's geared towards multi-instrumentalists too. So we had a guy playing pretty much everything there is to play. Saxophone, percussion, bass, 2 or 3 different keyboards, and he was singing at the end. So if you're just a lone guitar player at home and you want to lay down a 16-bar blues progression to do a solo over or something, you probably don't need the RC600 because it's way overkill. You can get by with the smallest Boss looper, which is, am I correct in saying the RC10, maybe?
Could be. Not
but they do a single stomp box size looper pedal, which is very, very good as well.
Yep. But I mean, it looks great, and probably need to check a few videos to just marvel the stuff some people can do with these. I am not one of those people. And moving on to the second, a fun little release, the Rev Amplification has released their own noise gate, which is called G8 or Gate. Hey.
You know what?
Yeah, it's the noise gate.
I'd not clocked that before. I hadn't worked that
really?
out. Oh dear, no. Because I've always I'd put it in context with the other pedals, G2, G3, G4, G8. I never once said gate, but there you go. You learn something every day. They're clever, those guys at Rev, aren't they? Wow.
Yes, they are. And it's basically based on the noise gate in the Rev's generator 120 Mark III amp. That amp has everything built in, including a coffee machine and like some sort of system that takes your dog out a couple times a day. And these statements have not been verified by Rev Amplification.
If you could get one that could change a baby's diaper, I think you definitely need to buy one right now.
Yes, indeed. It's a noise gate pedal, and I know like Rev are at a point where there's fans of the brand, and it just makes sense to release this, especially because it's based on the technology they already have. And is it that different from other noise gates? Probably not, but then again, some people will want to have as many Rev pedals on their board as they can. So to me, it just makes sense.
The price on this G8 is, am I right in saying 200 euros over here in Europe and $200 or thereabouts in North America, which is, it's not cheap, that's for sure. There are other brands who have noise gate pedals that cost similar prices, but I was just thinking the other day, imagine if you had a board that had the G2, the G3, the G4, and now the G8 on it as well. You're basically at the price of buying the D20 or the G20 amp, which doesn't have a built-in noise gate, by the way, if I'm
that is
right.
True.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, and I totally agree with you that I think that this is a cool, I'm not going to call it a gimmicky pedal, but it's definitely like a niche value pedal for a lot of people, but it is certainly something that if you're a Rev fan, you will want to have this on your board, because if you know the generator, if you know Rev distortion pedals too, you will know that everything they do is top quality, so this noise gate is going to really work. And at the same time, I do often find myself thinking that my G3 pedal is fairly noisy, because it is a big high gain distortion pedal, so having a noise gate would be kind of cool for it. Am I going to spend 200 euros on the G8 noise gate for it? I don't think so, but I would love to try it. And if it turns out it's the best noise gate I've ever tried in the world ever, then I might do it. But it's kind of a push for me. $200 for a noise gate. Although that clever name, I do like that name.
Indeed, and kind of cool.
I think I've just revealed my stupidity as opposed to Rev doing it cleverly. But there you go.
Well, we take turns on this show to do that, so maybe today was your day.
We're very good at that. Yeah.
Yes, indeedio. And speaking of indeedio, let's move on to something funky, because Solidgoldfx has released Gigads. Solidgoldfx gets funky as hell with the new Supa Funk pedal, and our friend Jay has demoed that. And when we're talking about anything funky, I can't think of anyone else who's better to demonstrate something like this than Jay, because he's funky.
He's the funkiest guy I know on YouTube anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this is an envelope filter, right? Or an auto wah, effectively.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Interesting that we've seen a couple of different companies do that recently. Most significantly for me, the Carl Martin Ottawa, which was at 42 Gear Street 3 and was released just after that. This is a pedal which I also see as being rather niche in many ways. Are you a fan of envelope filters or auto wahs? I can't imagine it really fits into your style too much.
Well, it depends what I would play. Like I love something like this instead of like a wah pedal. I'd rather have this instead, but I very, very rarely have situations where I need one. So, and this is a very specific thing for just few different styles that I don't play. So, yeah.
I know what you mean. I agree with you totally.
I have no use for it. That's the only thing.
Same for me. But that design is fantastic. I love
it looks cool.
The retro 70s vibe to it. It looks really, really funky. It looks a lot funkier than the Carl Martin Ottawa, I have to admit.
That's true.
But yeah, the more modulation pedals that I see, and thinking about this one, the more it makes me think that the people who are really doing it right are the people who are making multi-modulation effects pedals, where you've got 10 or 11 or 12 of those kind of slightly off-kilter, weird effects. And for guys like us who might want to have, for 1% of our playing time, something like an auto wah, it's one of the 10 or 11 effects on that pedal. And for the rest of the time, we just won't use it. And we can use other modulation effects like a chorus or whatever, like a phaser or a flanger, whatever takes our fancy that day. Because there's, for me, I can't think of any songs off the top of my head where auto wah is a specific thing that I would need. But we've talked quite a bit about the Foo Fighters recently, and they have a couple of tracks that I quite like to play. And it would be much better if I did have a phaser on my board, for example, to do Breakout. But yeah, I definitely don't want to have a whole phaser pedal on my board because it's just not worth it for me. So there you go.
But for some people, this could be a great choice for all of that funky stuff. As we mentioned, Jay is great at demoing something like this.
Yeah, we're watching him silently, and we can't hear anything, but you can feel the funk emanating through his body and fingers as he plays silently for us there. There's another video I'm going to have to watch right after we finish filming this.
Yeah, definitely.
And then probably buy the pedal, which I don't need and will never use.
That might happen. You never know. Moving on to the next one, and with the kind of title you can see on the on the YouTube version, you can kind of date me because I wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Memory Man. And yes, indeed, Electro-Harmonix has shrunk down the classic deluxe Memory Man, which, by the way, I think this is a fantastic idea. The original Memory Man Deluxe is quite big. It's the size of like 4 regular stomp boxes, if not bigger.
Yeah.
And now there's a nano version of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Perfect. Yeah, it looks fantastic. And apparently it has less noise than the original.
Oh.
And of course, it's smaller, like you said, and you can plug a standard 9-volt power supply into it, which you couldn't do with the originals.
Nice.
And it's how much? $200 or thereabouts, which for Electro-Harmonix mini pedals is not cheap, but this is the real deal. I can't wait to try one of these.
Yeah.
Again, I'm actually totally going against what I just said about the auto-wah pedal because I have the Empress delay system, which has all the delays I could ever want on it, including delays that sound very much like this, like the Memory Man, or like any other delay ever. And there's going to be a bunch of people out there who also have the Strymon Timeline or other big delays which are available, but they will all want this because the Deluxe Memory Man is just one of the classics. And I think this is going to sell like the proverbial hotcakes.
But
in Finland, is there a proverbial food that sells a lot? Like
that's a good question.
Polar bear pancakes.
We do have something called musta makkara, which is like a black sausage, which is basically like, is it like rice and like, it's made out of like rice, meat, and like some animal's blood, basically.
Sounds delicious.
It's actually very good, but...
I'll try it if I ever come to Finland. We do have black pudding in other parts of the world too, or blood pudding as the Americans call it, which is which is made with blood. But yeah, what's it called in Finnish?
The sausage I just mentioned.
Yeah,
it's musta makkara. Literally means black sausage.
Musta makkara.
I hope we don't get demonetized for this, but.
You heard it here first. The Electro-Harmonix Nano Deluxe Memory Man is going to sell like musta makkara in Finland, and it's going to sell like hotcakes in the rest of the world.
Exactly. And also want to mention that CatPick Fridays is a safe zone where you're free to contradict yourself on every single segment as many times as you want. That's kind of what we do here.
Yeah, that's good. We're a family-friendly all intelligence levels friendly show, and that includes the presenters.
Exactly.
But yeah, back to this. Yeah, carry on. Sorry, before we get back to it.
No, nothing. I was about to make a stupid joke, but we're going to skip that one for this time.
The moment's gone. Save it for next week. But getting back to this Deluxe Memory Man Nano, it looks like a lot of fun. I'm starting to get a little bit, what's the word? Not fed up or sick of. I'm starting to wish that they would do slightly different, more kind of 21st century demo videos of their products. But yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, they don't work with other YouTubers. I just remembered that.
It seems like they don't, and they always have Bill Ruppert doing their demos. I recognize his hand from the thumbnail that we're looking at there. He's a killer player and an amazing presenter. But I would also like to see them in future doing some slightly more modern themed demos with more modern kind of song-based usages of these pedals. But there you go. Just a little wish from me. I'm sure there's going to be so many people buying this pedal, and so many YouTubers as well are going to go out and spend their own money on this and do their own videos of it, which is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
I'm actually like genuinely interested in this one because I kind of want, like, I've done 2 like church gigs this fall already, and in both I played acoustic guitar, but I paired it with some like shimmer, like the Boss RV6, and used the shimmer mode on that as well. I borrowed that from my friend, and it's so much fun, especially we had like a fairly small band. Like the amount of space you can fill with that reverb pedal, and then if I would also pair it with this, like I could have all of this ambient background stuff happening without like it's really muddying up. Because again, the Deluxe Memory or Nano Deluxe Memory Man, that's a handful of words to say fast. Like Nano Deluxe Memory Man would be perfect with like blend knob to have like that modulated, beautiful delay thing going on. I think it has like is there like a tone control for it as well? I think there might be. So like slightly dark delays. Yeah, and then reverbs going on in the background. Who knows? I might be doing some not church, but like my sister was asked to do like a wedding gig, and I have a suspicion she might ask me to join her as well. So like we could go there as a duo, but have like a very ambient, big sound with just 2 of us and an acoustic guitar with something like this. So it could be cool.
Yeah,
and obviously it's
one
great
other
for
thing that
electric guitar as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. One other thing that I just wanted to mention about this pedal is that it's come at the perfect time as well. Obviously, Christmas coming up in a couple of months, but also, again, from 42 Gear Street 3, there was the release of the new J-Rocket audio pedal, the Clockwork, which was effectively, a full-sized, newer version of this pedal designed in conjunction with the chap who designed the original Memory Man. And so for Electro-Harmonix to bring this out right now is... Well, let's just say there's healthy competition in the marketplace for these pedals now, because, the original Electro-Harmonix ones, despite the fact that they're huge and hard to power and they fill your board up and stuff like that, the prices are going up and up and up. They're getting rarer and rarer, and so this is great timing. I'm really excited about this pedal. We've been off for 2 weeks, and I've seen a bunch of great gear that I want to test out from doing this show.
Yeah, it feels like it's always like ramping up a little bit before Christmas. Then like early January is fairly quiet, except like if stuff for NAMM leaks. It will actually be interesting to see, like now that the NAMM show is in June, like whether there will be like a steady release of stuff during the first 5 months or so of 2022, or whether like everyone will just dump a bunch of stuff they plan to release at NAMM out like in the early weeks of 2022. We'll see. Let's move on to something rare and something like most of us will not be able to afford. Fender unveils the new Violinmaster guitar inspired by 1730 Stradivarius, which is like a very, very famous violin. And this thing looks very, very interesting. First of all, each of the guitars, it's a limited run, 60 guitars. Each of them are priced at $30K US dollars. And they're basically, there's strong like violin vibes with it. It has a very interesting looking bridge, for example. Very actually like a violin-like bridge. As you can see on YouTube at least. And there's like multiple saddles on it as well. I remember reading about the pickups. I just forgot which. There's a pair of TV Jones Thunderblade humbuckers, and there's also 3 passive piezo pickups. So not only this is like a very like collectible item, but I bet it also sounds very unique.
Yeah, I bet it does. For anyone who is going to be in the market for unique guitars and also likes, maybe collecting classic other kinds of instruments, then the $30,000 for them is going to be a snip for this guitar because, it's proper unique. I don't reckon we'll see this getting played on any stages anywhere near us anytime soon. This is the kind of guitar that would be behind a glass shelf at the NAMM show, and you'd look through it and there'd be people taking photographs of it, but I can't ever imagine a normal person playing it, but I think it looks amazing. And it's the custom shop, so why not?
Why not? Yeah. In the article, they mentioned that it has a Bosnian flame maple neck. I'm not sure if Bosnia has like specific type of maple or something, but they mentioned it separately in the article, so I guess there's some reason for that.
That's probably where Stradivari got his woods from back in the day. Yeah. They're probably trying to mimic it as much as possible.
I see. So it has like a violin-style floating bridge, and you have 4 different interchangeable saddles. You have a bronze one, ocean, coral, buffalo horn, and ebony. So you can actually tweak the tone of the guitar by swapping the saddle on the bridge. Interesting.
That's amazing. I wonder how significant the differences are. Again, it's going to be very...
quite a lot actually.
Yeah, I would guess fairly different. I think the only possibility that we have to hear this guitar demoed anywhere online is via the Trogley's guitar show. We'll have to check out if he's gonna have one. Oh, unless there's good samples in the video from Fender themselves.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. There's something fun about like Fender doing something like this. It's not something I want, even if I would be able to afford it, I think I would still get it. But I kind of appreciate the craftsmanship and someone doing something a bit different. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think this is not a guitar that's been made for any kind of specific guitar player. This is a guitar which is 100% produced for people who like to collect exclusive instruments that basically nobody else has. So in a way, making 60 of them, it's not that exclusive. They could have made 10 or something maybe, but
did I say 60? Was it 60?
I thought you said 60.
It was 60. Yes. Yeah. For some reason,
only 60 of them.
It was 30. But it was
60 doesn't feel that exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that exclusive, but maybe like they got an like X amount of wood and like saw that, hey, we can like build 60.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks nice. Why not? If you can afford it.
Why not?
Why not is my like conclusion to this news. Moving on to the next one. The Epiphone B.B.King Lucille model is finally out. And yeah, Epiphone has finally launched the eagerly awaited B.B.King Lucille model. And there's like a baritone switch on it. It doesn't have F-holes, which is pretty interesting. And it has the 60s Kalamazoo headstock. So is that a different one from the new Epiphone one then?
Yeah,
Looks
it's kind of
similar.
It's kind of the one that you see on lots of the semi-hollow models, but it is the newer version of that for Epiphone anyway. So yeah, it's correct headstock. And this guitar was teased and teasered a long time ago, wasn't it? It's been months and months since we've been waiting for it. The best part of a year, I guess. And now finally it's here. And I'm sure this is going to be an excellent guitar. Oh yeah, just looking at the article. Ever since Emily Wolf shared a sneak peek of it 8 months ago, the Epiphone B.B.King Lucille model has been highly anticipated and finally gets an official release today. So there you go. And of course, Emily Wolf has her own signature Sheraton model, if I'm correct, which came out in the last year and is also a very, very cool looking guitar. Epiphone are really, really doing good stuff at the moment.
Yeah, I have to agree.
One thing we missed, by the way, was that last week, Epiphone released another Joe Bonamassa signature Les Paul. We haven't talked about that. Yeah, another one of the 59s. Yeah.
Who would have guessed that he would go
surprise,
for
surprise.
59? I'm shocked. That's why I'm going to do one of the thumbnail faces. Yep.
So it was real. It wasn't just a thumbnail shot that you took at some other time to add into the thumbnail. There you go.
Exactly.
The emotion was genuine.
Yeah. But I kind of, I have a semi-hollow black Gibson-ish guitar, but I still kind of like this a lot. I also would love to hear how it sounds with not having like F-holes. Does it affect the electric sound that much? It's definitely different sounding when you have it in your lap and you're playing not like unplugged, but yeah. Comes with like great hardware as well. Like Rover automatic tuners, and there's a Graphtec nut as well. 22 medium jumbo frets, maple center blocks, spruce binding. Yeah. It's not.
And again, the fact that it has no F-holes means that there is a plate on the back of the body which gives you easy access to the pickups and the wiring inside if you ever want to change anything or need to fix anything. And that's a major plus for semi-hollow guitars.
Yeah, it looks absolutely amazing in this photo.
Yeah.
We're watching on YouTube.
It is interesting that they've made it quite different to what you would imagine a Lucille to be. You know, no F-holes.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Not sure. Yeah, not sure why. It's not like, I wouldn't call this cheap because it's 939 euros on Thomann. But then again, this is where Epiphone has kind of been going for a while now. The Slash models, I think they were like 800-ish euros as well.
Yeah.
But you're getting great hardware and most likely a great build quality as well. And as we've talked about before, like some artists are actually playing their Epiphones now. Matt Heafy from Trivium has a signature Epiphone. Jared James Nichols, someone else I'm forgetting right now. They're playing those guitars live.
Lee Malia from Bring Me the Horizon.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I'm just looking at Google image search, by the way, and actually B.B. King's guitar, the one that he used, and the Gibson model, they don't have F-holes either. So I clearly had a wrong image in my head. So there we go. Yeah. So actually they're not doing anything different. That's exactly how he had his. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Will I buy it? Probably not, because I kind of have something like that in my possession already, but yeah. I like
sure.
that
I feel like this guitar is more for, you know, blues players, blues fans.
Yeah. Indeed. Yep. But there you go. Bunch of cool stuff was released. And next we want to go to everyone's favorite segment where we can talk about our favorite albums and things like that. Albums of our lives.
Like plastic on a CD shelf, these are the albums of our lives.
All right. album pick of the week. And just a second, I just lost a window here that I was supposed to show. Album pick of the week, and this is my pick, is boom! Dream Theater Metropolis Part 2 Scenes from a Memory. And this is probably like top 3 most influential albums for me. Like it's definitely in the top 3. This wasn't the first thing I heard from Dream Theater, but once I started to go through their catalog, I like the images and words quite a lot. But this was the album that kind of blew my mind and made me fall in love with the band. First of all, this album was released in October 1999, and it was the band's like first concept album. It's a concept album, and there's like a story that goes through the whole album, and it tells the story of a Nicholas who goes to like a therapist, and the therapist makes him fall asleep, and from there he starts seeing this woman who was, I think, tragically killed. And I'm not going to reveal the whole story and tell that you'll have to listen to the album to figure it out. But yeah, it was their first concept album, and they've actually done at least 1 or 2 since then as well. And it was also their first album with their new keyboard player Jordan Rudess, who joined the band after they had done 1, or was it already 2 albums of Liquid Tension Experiment, which was like an instrumental thing between Mike Portnoy, John Petrucci, Jordan Rudess, and then Tony Levin on bass. So like this instrumental wibbly wobbly thing. And yeah, Jordan Rudess joined the band as a keyboard player for this album and has been in the band ever since. So over 20 years now already. And yeah, what kind of gave them idea to make this album was actually like on Images and Words, which is their second album, the first album with the kind of the singer, I want to say, James Labrie. I don't know how to probably pronounce his last name. Yeah. On that Images and Words album, they had a song called Metropolis Part 1, The Miracle and the Sleeper. And like that song was a fan favorite, and there's like a story going on, and fans had been asking for years for them to kind of continue that story in some other song. And what they basically did was, continue that story and just create a whole album around it. And they're like cool little details, like the last chord on that Images and Words album's song that kind of inspired the whole thing. The last chord is the same chord that kind of picks up this album. And like if you would listen those 2 in a row, there would be like a continuation thing going on between those 2 albums, which is really cool. Oh, excuse me. And there's also a detail where this Scenes from a Memory album ends. It ends in like static noise, and the next album actually picks up from there as well. So they're doing this kind of storytelling thing there. The album was also very monumental for the band in the sense that this was the first album they produced themselves, which was cool. And they actually, like everyone else except Jordan Rudess, who was really new in the band, they shared the cover, like they co-wrote all of the lyrics for these songs. They basically they mapped out the story, and then everyone was assigned certain songs, and then they wrote the lyrics and created this whole kind of narrative from the first song to the last one. And there's something really cool about that as well. Haven't personally ever experienced anything like that where we would like co-write a full album worth of stories, and everyone would have their angles on them in different parts of the story. And just musically, to me personally, this is maybe the peak of Dream Theater in many ways. the story and the songwriting and all of the kind of soundscapes and like how they like pair different parts of the story with different kinds of music is really cool. Sometimes it's slower and ambient. Sometimes it's very beautiful. Sometimes it's dark and aggressive. And yeah, they definitely were inspired by a lot of bands like Pink Floyd or I think that's Rush also. Like they're huge Rush fans, obviously, and heavily influenced by them. I think they took from Rush quite a lot onto this album as well. And yeah, I'm going to say it's an absolute classic in like prog rock, prog metal genre, if that's a genre. And yeah, I absolutely love this album. I actually listened to it yesterday from the beginning till the end, and it still holds up production-wise, songwriting-wise. I love it.
Very nice. What year is it from?
1999.
1999, so it's 22 years old. I've never heard that album, but it's the one Dream Theater album that when I think about Dream Theater or when I, remember them, when I was more into kind of heavier music and was reading Kerrang! Magazine and Metal Hammer and stuff like that, that was the album that everybody said was the best one by Dream Theater. So I've got to listen to it. And I will. Yep. That's the way you've described it makes it pretty intriguing to me. I'm not sure how I feel about concept albums as a whole. I don't actually know how many of my favorite albums are concept records. And in fact, you could probably say that every album is a concept album in a way, but if it tells like one cohesive story, then yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to listen to it and then I will give you my feedback as to what I think about the album. But we've discussed Dream Theater before, haven't we? In terms of their artistry and musicianship and songwriting craft, they're one of the very best around. It's just a case of whether you understand them or not. And I'm still at the stage, you've given me that playlist of some easy to manage Dream Theater songs. I'm at the stage where I'm trying to get into it a bit more. But I think, in terms of albums of our lives, this is also going to be one that I think resonates with lots of people who listen to and watch CatPick Fridays. There's probably a whole bunch of Dream Theater fans out there. Dream Theater fans. Not easy to say.
Yes, that's true. That's surprisingly difficult to put
theater
those Dream Theater fans.
Yeah. But there you go. Did you ever see them live?
I've seen them twice. At least twice.
Like, have you seen them live around the time of that record? Because I'm also wondering, with concept albums like that, it makes sense, in my opinion, for bands to play live shows where they play the whole record. Did they ever do that? Do you know?
I think they've done that, but I haven't seen those. Like the times they've been in Finland. Well, first of all, it's been like not 10 years. I think the first time I saw them was maybe 2007 or something like that. So way later than they. Like I think they had 2 or 3 albums more out at that point, or maybe actually probably 2008. I've seen them play a lot of these songs live from this album because it's also like a fan favorite and people are really looking forward to a bunch of the songs from this album. And yeah, I would love to like see a show where they're actually like doing the whole album. And since it's a bit over 20 years since this came out, my guess would be that they might have done something like that when there was like a 20-year anniversary of this album, so 2019.
Yeah, maybe they did. Yeah. Or maybe they'll do it for 25, which would be in 2024. So not long to go.
Not that long to wait, actually.
Wow, 25 years since an album like that was put out. Crazy. It's amazing that the continued influence and importance that Dream Theater and all the musicians in the band have in their respective, instrument circles. John Petrucci, for example. I was talking with Thomas Blug last night on the Blue Guitar live stream, about Steve Lukather a bit, and I put those two into kind of a similar sort of category for me, and that I've never been personally too into the bands that they both have, but in terms of them as guitar players and people, the records that they've played on, the songs that they've written, the performances that they've done, and the gear that has their names on, the Lukather and Petrucci signature models, they're some of the best known electric guitars out there. And there's probably a bunch of people who own and love those guitars who have never really even listened to records by either of those guys, at least not knowingly. I mean, if you've ever listened to the radio, you've heard a song that Lukather has played on, but
yeah,
it's interesting how things like that work. Very good choice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank
I
you.
commend you for your choice this week.
Thank you. A brief mention, actually went back and listened to the 59 sound we talked about 2 weeks ago. Listened to it actually a few times, and also my daughter loved it as well. She was like into it the first second.
Kids know.
She heard
Kids have
the
that
albums.
pure soul where they
Yes,
they know what's
exactly.
good. They don't have any kind of preconceptions or any kind of, they're not twisted by any manipulation that they've externally received elsewhere beforehand. So that's great. But we're coming from two very different sides when we're talking about these albums, aren't we? I mean, the 59 sound and that folk, punk, rock noise compared to the ultra precision concept songwriting of Dream Theater. It's so different, and yet on a bass level, it's just 4 or 5 guys in a room with guitars, bass, drums, and voice.
Yeah.
And that's
the
how
thing is,
amazing
with this
music is.
Yeah, with this album, a lot of the stuff they actually like, they had like jam sessions, and like in the article I'm going to throw here as well in the show notes, they actually link to like a 20-something minute jam where there's a lot of the parts for these songs available. So they just basically jammed and then started like listening to what they had come up with during that jam, and then kind of worked on the details of the song. There's something really, really cool about that. Something that I really miss, actually, like finding like-minded friends and jamming, and then seeing like what could happen from those initial jams. Maybe one day.
You never know.
Exactly. But to me, this is probably like the pinnacle of this band or something like that. Like the songwriting, like I kind of feel a lot of concept albums are kind of, I don't know, if not cheesy, but I don't know, like they're kind of not cool. It doesn't really work for me most of the time, but it might be either the fact that I heard this album in my teens and it just really like influenced me, and that's why I like it, or it's just a good concept album that actually works. One of those,
exactly.
But,
yeah, or it's just a great album, piece of work, and it just so happens that it is a concept album, which could be it as well. But I definitely agree that, the records that you listen to when you're going through your formative years as a teenager, transitioning from a child to a young person to a fully fledged adult, that music stays with you. And the music that we've talked about so far on the 4 or 5 albums of our lives that we've done up to this point, it's all been from that kind of time frame, from when we were 13, 14, 15 through to early 20s, I think. I was thinking the past couple of days, could I possibly find an album that was released in the past 5 years to go into this segment? I actually don't know if I can. There are some great albums that have come out in that time, but most of my favorites are albums from bands that I loved from back in the day who are still going. And they're not as good, maybe, as the albums from back in the day, but maybe that's because, when you were an adolescent, that music just took over you completely, whereas now we're adults with jobs and families and responsibilities and mortgages or whatever. Music doesn't get to you in the same way. I don't know. Yeah.
Could be like, there's actually a video on Adam Neely's channel where he talks about this. Like, there's been some studies that when you're around, 15-ish or so, like that's when your musical taste is kind of formed. And like at this, like the basis of that is kind of I don't know, cemented at that age. And then you kind of, I've obviously add more on top of that as the years go by, but like basically his conclusion was like, yep, I grew up listening to new metal music and I love it. And me and Adam being pretty much exactly the same age, I kind of have to agree, though I was exposed to other music styles as well. So I feel I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same for me. But
yeah,
if Adam Neely says it, I'm happy to go along with that. He knows what he's talking about.
I kind of want to go with that challenge, though. Like, could I find, like, do I actually have something that's been released within the previous, like, past 5 years that has actually really influenced me? I'll give that question a thought or two before it's my time to pick and see if I could actually, like, find something. Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it might be quite a challenge for us.
Yeah, could be. But I want to give it a try.
Listening at this point, what are the best guitar-based albums? Well, they don't have to be guitar albums, but what are the best albums by bands that have been released since about 2015? Give us a little mention in the comments of what some of your recommendations would be, and we'll have a listen and see if we can come up with something.
Yep.
Maybe we even have some younger viewers who actually are 15 or 16 right now, so they're actually getting formed in terms of what their musical taste is, and they can tell us what they like. I feel so old saying things like that. Good. Oh, well.
Yes. We're not young anymore. That's the thing.
It's true.
Yeah. Speaking of not being young, let's answer some of your questions and comments next. And yeah, I'm curious to hear what Rich's pick will be next week, but that will be next week. Questions and comments. Questions and comments. I just realized it feels a tiny bit silly to say, hey, let's questions and comments, and then the segment intro immediately says questions and comments. But
yeah,
let's go with that. Comment number 1. Come on, work. There you go.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
a long one.
Yes, it's a long one, and just a second, I need to make the text bigger so I can actually read what's going on. Yes, Paul Leonard Ewing comments on last week's, like, we did a bonus episode, backup episode of Harley Benton ALS, because I was on parenting leave or something like that. Well, I literally was on parenting leave. Yeah, we talk about the Harley Benton ALS, and he brings out a great point saying, Revolta have brought out the Regatta 7, which is a similar guitar designed by Dennis Fano and made in Korea. The final setup is done by Novo in Nashville, so it comes out of the box with the feel of one of the gourmet guitars. It is easily in the league, if not better than Gibson. At $1,500, it feels a middle ground. Entry level for any American-made guitar is same, so it fits the budget of many. It too holds its own from jazz to metal. In short, it makes an instant and noticeable impression even on a simple demo. The metal sound is full but has no semi-honk, and jazz sounds are warm and rich yet has a beautiful definition. I'm very, very curious about the Revolta guitars because I've seen a bunch of Fano guitars, and our friend Eirik is a huge fan of. He has like a Fano, like a Firebird type guitar, and that thing sounds amazing for a bunch of different styles. This is interesting. I don't remember Revolta guitars, even though I think I've heard of them. We need to check them out.
I've heard of them, and I believe I played one a couple of years ago at a show, but I don't remember, which isn't necessarily a huge compliment, but I love the aesthetics and the look of Revolta guitars. Yeah. They have this retro vibe going on, but I think they also have the build quality too. And I checked out the Regatta while you were reading Paul's comment there, and it does look fantastic. I mean, obviously for $1,500, we're at 3 times the price of the ALS, which is what this comment relates to, our chat about the Harley Benton ALS. But yeah, everything that Paul says makes sense. Are you familiar with Paul, by the way? I mean, I've I recognize his name and face from my channel. He's commented on a few of my videos, and he seems to know his thing. So I agree.
Yes.
It's absolutely right. Yeah. Whenever he comments on my videos, he always brings me new gear, things to look at, new bits of information, and seems to have his finger on the pulse of the industry. And I think he's had that for a number of decades based on what he seems to know. So definitely something to check out.
I do remember him. I'm trying to think whether Paul is the one who commented on a video that you and I did at GitCon 2017 that I ended up taking down because there were some factors I didn't kind of weigh before I made that video. And I think Paul was the one who kind of pointed those out.
Oh, wow.
Might be, but he has stayed as a subscriber since then, I think. Paul, if you're watching this and it was indeed you who made that comment, great to see you. Great to see that you're still here after all this time. And yeah, I'm really, really interested in the Revolta guitars. I need to check those out at some point because that looks really interesting. So thank you. It's definitely not the same as the ALS just because of the price. But like there's so many fantastic professional level options now at like $1,500-ish or so. So that's really cool. Yeah, we'll have to check those out and maybe we might end up commenting those next week. And yeah, moving on to question number 2 or comment number 2. And this is an interesting one. I'm going to say Barry L. comments on my Harley Benton ALS review. That he said that it's a pity that it's overdriven. Any guitar sounds good when you put pedals or effects on it. And basically, I kind of continued the discussion, and he says that the only way to demo guitars properly is to demo them with like a fully clean sound. Do you agree?
Yes. No, I don't know. That's why in my demo videos, I play every kind of music genre that I can think of. So if someone says it needs to be clean so you know what it sounds like, I say, well, you've got a couple of minutes of clean noodling as well. I totally understand the point. I mean, let's use Barry as an example. If Barry is someone who plays his guitar music clean and he wants that sound, then a demo where overdrive is coming from a pedal or an amp is just not going to give him what he needs to know what the guitar sounds like. So in that context, it works. But let's say you were demoing a Harley Benton Fusion T, the double humbucker equipped Telecaster type guitar that we looked at earlier in the show. If you just did a demo of that guitar clean, well, you'd know what the pickup sounded like clean, but I think 99% of people who would be buying that guitar are not buying it to have it sound clean. So it's all about usage scenarios. So
yeah,
it's. I mean, Barry is right in his context, if that's what his context is. But in another context, I feel like, for me, variety is the spice of life. That's why I play a little bit of everything in the videos that I do. With my videos, I always try and answer every question that I would have about a guitar. So if someone would want to know what it sounded like clean, that's in there. Overdriven as well. My poor attempts at metal, that's in there as well. In terms of every guitar sounding good when you put an overdrive pedal in front of them, also depends on the overdrive pedal. But yeah, I mean, once you start driving it more and compressing it, it gets that rock and roll vibe and it might lose some of its uniqueness. That's for sure. What do you think, by the way, Vlad? I mean, you've continued your discussion with Barry in the comments, but tell us here, give us the benefit of your knowledge.
So like in a way, let's put it this way. I get Barry's point. But then again, for example, I'm going to say that anything with, let's say, EMG pickups, like high gain pickups, those pretty much never sound good clean. But when you put them through a fairly decent amount of overdrive or distortion, all of a sudden you get what's the fuzz about with those pickups. So with some guitars, some music styles, I would actually agree. Maybe sometimes it would be better to demo those clean or maybe it's like slightly overdriven. But then again, some guitars are designed to be rock and roll machines or metal machines. And actually with Ailus, the Tesla pickups are fairly hot. I've been tracking a bunch over the past week or so. Excuse me. And I think it actually has the hottest pickups of all of the guitars I have here. So, well, my tail is a single core, but then there's the 335, which one is way less output. Same goes with my Vola Oz as well, actually, which surprised me. The Ailus is way hotter than any of those other guitars.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, though, didn't you include some clean jazz playing in your Ailus video?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. So at least you had some clean sounds in there.
Definitely.
I mean, it wasn't
like clean jazz, and then there's
maybe,
also and there's this funky type of thing, which is almost clean. But then again, I'm also a fan. Like, to me, the best clean sounds aren't like 100% clean, but there's like a little bit of, I don't know, let's use the term shizzle on top of it, where it kind of feels more live and just more kind of musical to me, at least. Like, you don't
I know
kind
what
of
you
realize there's overdrive going on, but it's there. And if you take it out, it sounds dull and lifeless after that.
Yeah, it's that iconic edge of breakup kind of a tone, where if you dig in a little bit, it starts to crunch up and compress some. But if you play lightly or roll the volume knob down just a touch, it's absolutely pristine clean. So there you go.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, just talking again about the Ailus very briefly, in your video, you had one song with, I think, 6 or 7 different genres of music in it. And in the video that I did, I covered as many different genres, if not more. And that, for me, is actually kind of one of the main selling points of the Ailus anyway. It can actually do everything. And I think people will be buying it mostly to do everything with it. Yep. At least that's how I see it. Because although it is a semi-hollow guitar, and a lot of semi-hollow guitars are aimed more towards the classic end of the market, I feel that the Ailus is kind of using that classic aesthetic and marrying that to modern functionality and things like that roasted flame maple neck with stainless steel frets and the hot Tesla pickups. It's built to be able to do everything. So, yeah, to answer Barry's question, which wasn't a question, it was a statement. Yeah, I think we both get where Barry's coming from, but there's more to it than that as well, if you need there to be more to it. Yeah. But an interesting point.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of interesting points, comment number 3 comes from Hugh Zuck, and he mentions that this is on my Nuex Mighty Light BT, so like a tiny practice amp thing. The fact that I even wear a Nuex promotion shirt does not affect me in what I'm saying about the product. Yeah, I agree in the sense like the optics kind of don't look good in a way. I mean, like I'm wearing a Nuex shirt, demoing a Nuex product, but then again, like it always comes down to the point, like why, like what's the benefit of lying to all of my viewers, like selling them something that I know is crap? Because when one of you people will buy that product and it turns out to be crap, you're not only going to stop watching what I do, you're most likely going to tell all of your friends not to watch my stuff either. Like anyone who's into guitar gear, we always like when we meet other friends, we chat with like for hours about the gear we've tried and stuff like that. And we also share our experiences like, okay, I bought this thing and it wasn't good, ended up returning it, stuff like that. When word starts to get out that Vlad is selling, like promoting products that are actually really bad, like nobody's going to watch what I do.
Yeah, you can lose your credibility with something like that really, really quick.
Yep.
In a case like that. So
I genuinely think that for the money, that amp was really good. And
I must confess that I haven't seen that specific video. I do apologize, Vlad, for not having watched one of your videos there.
You haven't watched all my 300 or 400 videos. What's wrong with you?
No, exactly. Apologies. It's on my to-do list, I swear. But I mean, yeah, I totally understand where Hugh is coming from with the comment, because it does seem like, oh yeah, a guy reviews products wearing brands merchandise. That seems like a thing. You know me, my day job is working for one of these brands. I work for Blue Guitar, and whenever I go on Blue Guitar TV, I'm wearing a Blue Guitar shirt because that's what you do. So I must also admit that I'm careful when I do my own YouTube stuff not to include my day job, the brand stuff in there, and I would have to really go out of the way to mention it if it was getting featured, you know, but I really think in this day and age with YouTube and with kind of the rules out there about advertising, it should be clear to people watching that they know that money and YouTube and stuff like that is a thing, and people make careers by doing reviews and product stuff on YouTube. And I'm not saying that's necessarily you, but that's just the way the world is today. And I'm guessing that in that video you have the little tick box saying, you know, product provided, or you were paid or given the product or whatever. So it should all be good, but it can still be confusing. And
I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the video that a product has been provided, but it doesn't affect what I say. Like, nobody has ever asked me to say anything about the product.
Yeah, and again, you don't, and I don't either. We don't know you personally, but, you know, I know you personally, and I know that the way you work with brands, because previously I've had that kind of working relationship with you, with Hughes and Kettner, and with Blue Guitar as well. I know that you're not someone just to shill for brands, as some people say. And I guess my final point would be that I like you a lot because it appears that his profile picture is of a happy face piece of ham, which I think I remember from my childhood. If that's what that is. Hugh, if that is a photograph of you, I apologize immediately and unreservedly. But I believe it's a piece of kid's ham. So very good.
There you go. I really don't know what to add to that.
It is ham, isn't it? I'm going to have to come closer in just to look.
I'm not sure what it is. It's like some sort of face?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a piece of kid's ham. I'm going to have to find. I don't know what it's called. Ham face. I should Google this after the show, shouldn't I? But there we go.
Most likely. Well, why not do it now as well?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oh, God, but yeah, Google Images is weird, isn't it? But yeah, if you Google ham face, the third one is... Yeah.
Yeah, this is what CatPick Fridays
you can get ham with faces.
Yeah, we're Googling ham
Billy
faces
roll.
now.
It's called Billy roll, according to Google.
There you go. It's that. All right, before we wrap up, let's talk about Beatles in just a second in our segment. I'm just moving on, sorry. But
it is Billy roll, yeah, okay. Beat Cloud. Oh, okay.
There's only so much ham we can fit in one episode.
Yeah, so the fact that Hugh, has his Billy roll on his profile, what does that tell us about his opinion? Is he being paid by Billy Roll to promote their meat-based products? Who knows?
Exactly. All right, Weekend Watch. Let's go.
Watch it.
Video. It's not like you have anything else to do. Yeah, this week's Weekend Watch is the Beatles Get Back official trailer for the upcoming... I'm still not sure whether it's like a movie or like a small mini-series. Oh, it's Disney Plus original docu-series. That's a tough word for me to pronounce. Directed by Peter Jackson. And I also talked about... we talked about this before shooting this show. It feels weird to see all of the people from the Beatles like talk, move, because I've seen a bunch of pictures of them over time, but I've never seen them talk or interact with each other, anything like that. And this footage has been like very nicely like restored, and it looks amazing, taking into account that this was shot in the 60s. So yeah, this got me really, really excited. I need to renew my Disney Plus subscription just to watch this one, get it for a month or something, because Yeah.
Does that mean that it will also be playing in cinemas? Or does Disney Plus stuff not go into the cinema? Because if it would be possible to watch this at a movie theater, I would 100% do that. I saw this trailer a few days ago. I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I can't wait to see it. You know, I'm also a big fan of Peter Jackson as a movie director, and him combined with the Beatles. I assume he's also a massive fan of the band. It's going to be it's going to be really, really good. I mean, yeah, just watching them in color, watching their interactions in the studio. This is all footage that hasn't been seen publicly for over half a century, and now suddenly we get to see it. The build up to their final rooftop concert and the build up to their breakup. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think like in the trailer they, for example, allude to like you can see Yoko in a lot of clips. Like there's the guys from the band, and then she's there as well, and like there's probably like some sort of drama happening during the recording sessions and stuff like that. Well, as you mentioned, like this was their last album, I think, 1969.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they only had like X amount of days to write and record the albums, and yeah, this is looks like it's just going to be on the Disney Plus streaming service, but it's one of the more affordable ones. Yeah,
worth getting a like a month subscription to it,
definitely.
Or whatever the shortest time you can commit to it is, just to watch this, because there is so much musical history going on there.
This looks amazing, like in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, also
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally too, there's something kind of cool about seeing the late 60s in color, you know, that kind of counterculture era in London, and presumably there'll be other parts of the UK and the world that you get to see. But yeah, my parents were alive in England at that time as young people, as teenagers or whatever. So it's going to be kind of cool to see what they saw when they were kids in this film too. Yeah, it looks like a great watch. So yeah, it's only the trailer for you to watch this weekend, everybody.
Yes.
But in November, the full documentary or movie or whatever it's going to be is going to be out, and it's going to be very good. And it's not long till November. Actually, it's only a couple of weeks.
No, it's coming out very soon, actually. So like, it's going to roll out over 3 days, so 25th, 26th, and 27th of November. So mark your calendars. It's Beatles time then. Yeah, exciting stuff. Can't wait to see this whole thing. But that wraps up CatPick Fridays, episode number 33, I think, because the last week's episode was a bonus thing. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And as always, there's everything in the show notes, all the links, and basically anything we mentioned, ways to support what we do as well. And again, shoot your comments and questions our way. It's always fun to dive into those. And yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm waving a pen here, promotional pen that was sent to me. Somebody grabbed like an old logo from my old website and sent it to me with my logo and gave me a one-time offer to order 100 more of these.
Nice.
No, ain't gonna happen. Anyway, we'll be back next week. I'm pretty sure of that. No more babies in the horizon, I think, or something like that. So yeah, thank you, Rich, once again. This was fun, and we shall see you next time. Bye, podcast.
Bye, podcast.